Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here and welcome to another video. Now it was really important that I got this video out today because of course tragically exactly a year to the day we lost a creative genius, an absolute mastermind in WWE in Windham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt. And if you've subscribed to this channel for quite a while, you'll know that this channel was solely based around Bray Wyatt. Truth be told, this channel wouldn't even exist if it weren't for the creative genius that was Bray Wyatt. So I want to thank you for following me along this journey to this point. And now, of course, we can enjoy the Wyatt Sicks, honouring the legacy of the late Bray Wyatt. And I've just got to say, man, do I miss Bray Wyatt and his creativity within WWE. It just doesn't feel the same without him. It will never feel the same. But I'm just so happy for Bo, Taylor Rotunda, that he's been able to honour the legacy of his brother in the most tasteful way, and I look forward to the future and what lies in store for the Wyatt Sicks. Now, before we get into the full meat and bones of the video, I want you to get down in the comment section and share your favourite Bray Wyatt moment. It could be a live experience, and for me, I'm going to share mine. It was at the back end of 2015, the very first time I got to see Bray Wyatt in the flesh live. Of course, he was part of the Wyatt family at the time, and he was in a feud with The Undertaker and Kane. Now, I had no idea that The Undertaker was going to appear, so I'm here at WWE Raw in Manchester, England, just thinking it's a casual Raw, and then The Undertaker turned up, and I got to really enjoy the genius that was Bray Wyatt on the microphone. It was chilling, absolutely chilling, down to the Live in Fear entrance, a moment that I will never forget. The Wyatt family standing opposite the Brothers of Destruction. It was literally a spine tingle moment, like unbelievable. I'll never forget that. So unquestionably that was my favourite moment. But what was yours? Now we'll talk about Uncle Howdy's new mask and we'll bring everything up to the present day in a moment, but to do this video justice, I thought it'd be really important to explore a lot of unanswered questions when it came to the original Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy storyline, so we can tie it into the present day, so we can share our thoughts and opinions on what we believe the direction was going to be. Now, if we go all the way back to the Bray Wyatt return at Extreme Rules 2022, of course, we saw the OG version of Uncle Howdy, the OG Uncle Howdy mask, being worn by Bray Wyatt, and I think that was a very telling sign to say that basically Uncle Howdy was a part of Bray Wyatt, part of his psyche. You could say Bray Wyatt was Uncle Howdy, but Uncle Howdy was a figure that haunted Bray Wyatt in his childhood, but now it seemed like it was part of his psyche, and he'd embraced that. And I think maybe we had the Wyatt Sicks right in front of us at the time. We didn't even realise it, because of course at Extreme Rules we saw the Firefly Funhouse puppets come to life, other people portraying those characters. Of course, we saw Jason Baker portraying the Fiend and other members portraying the other various characters. Now, obviously, we're unlikely to ever see the Fiend again. It just wouldn't really feel right, anybody portraying the Fiend other than Windham Rotunda. But right there, we had Uncle Howdy, obviously later being portrayed by Bo Dallas, lying for Bray Wyatt, lie for me brother, use me for cover, and all of that, right? We had the Fiend, or would have had the Fiend, and of course the other members of the Firefly Funhouse, with the exception of Eric Young, which we'll come on to in a moment. So yeah, I believe the plan all along was to bring the Firefly Funhouse to life. That was Uncle Howdy's plan, to get the family together. Now, of course, we cannot rule out Alexa Bliss in all of this, and Alexa Bliss has been involved from the very beginning. Even if you go all the way back to the White Rabbit project and the lead up to that, there were various images of Samson and Delilah. There was an image of Samson breaking the pillars, of course, before his death. Now, I'm not going to go through this in crazy detail, but Samson and Delilah basically represent the Fiend and Alexa, or represented those two dark versions of themselves. Now, if you know the full story with Samson and Delilah, of course, Delilah betrayed Samson, used his powers against him, cut his hair off, which was his power, and then he was powerless. Now, of course, we know at WrestleMania 37, Alexa betrayed the Fiend. Now, the Fiend, as we knew him at WrestleMania 37, in fact, died that day. You could argue that in the Ryan Satin interview when Bray Wyatt said The Fiend died that day at WrestleMania 37, he wasn't lying, because that version of The Fiend died, just like Samson died. The story in Samson and Delilah, when of course Samson was held captive and stripped of his powers because of course they cut his hair off, he then prayed to God and temporarily got his powers back, shook these pillars, but unfortunately died as a result. So that version of The Fiend died, yes, but Uncle Howdy knew that a new version of The Fiend could come to life. And of course we found out from the Bray Wyatt documentary that there was going to be a new version of The Fiend returning at some point. Now sadly we will never get to see Windham portraying that version of The Fiend, which is absolutely heartbreaking. But that was the plan, and remember the words that Uncle Howdy said on the television set at Extreme Rules in the Firefly Funhouse. He actually said, if you listen really closely, Delilah, with a question mark, who killed the world? You did, madam. We did. Now there's a few people that think he said Adam, but I can't really see how Adam would link into any of the storyline. I'm feeling this is a Samson and Delilah sort of link here, and Alexa Bliss and Uncle Howdy were responsible for killing the world and sending the Fiend away. From the very off, there was a lot of connection to Alexa Bliss, and if you go to the Bray Wyatt return promo, SmackDown, October the 14th, 2022, now if you remember at the end of that promo, Uncle Howdy interrupted with a Clive Barker quote, "Oh little one, my little one, come with me. Your life is done. Forget the future, forget the past. Life is over, breathe your last. You got no idea who you're dealing with. Oh, but you will. And as Uncle Howdy says, come with me, it flashes up with these eyes. The same eyes that flash up the very first time Uncle Howdy targeted Alexa Bliss at Crown Jewel. The very, very same eyes that flash up in the Bray Wyatt promo at Crown Jewel when Uncle Howdy says to Bray Wyatt, hurt them, it's gonna feel so good. We saw those eyes 3 times within a short span of time, and I believe that was a reference to Alexa Bliss. Potentially Uncle Howdy was talking to Alexa Bliss when he said, oh little one, or was he talking to Bray Wyatt? It was a back and forth between his dark psyche. We'll never truly know, but I believe all along that Bray Wyatt knew where this circle was going to lead to. When he said, I am just a servant now, I go where the circle takes me, he winked. I think he knew all along it was going to lead to the Wyatt Sicks, and he was going to revive the Fiend, wear that mask once more, and wreak havoc within WWE. And in that very same promo, he said, you pulled the spears out of my ribs and yanked me back up. Was that a tie and reference and throwback to the Goldberg match and the spear, the questionable booking there? And therefore Bray Wyatt was happy to send that version of the Fiend away to start a new version of the Fiend, an evolved version, the Fiend 2.0. We know that Bray Wyatt was psychologically deranged. We know he was all over the place in kayfabe. We saw Uncle Howdy leak those psychological reports showing that he wasn't in control of his actions, and he would often lie. Now, he was maybe not lying when he said the Fiend died that day at WrestleMania 37, because Samson died, right? But we were going to get something we didn't see coming. And obviously all along, Bray Wyatt has used his brother to cover his lies. I do believe the lyrics of Shatter are very, very relevant to the storyline. Lie for me, brother. Use me for cover. Bo Dallas portraying Uncle Howdy for Bray. Remember when Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy attacked Hit Row and Bray Wyatt said, now that I've got my family together? I believe even at that point we were going to get the Wyatt Sicks soon, just slightly different to what we've seen it today. And what I mean by that is obviously we had that promo in the lead up to WrestleMania 39, those teases showcasing the other side of the Firefly Funhouse, the Fiend in the box and all of that, those female hands we've mentioned numerous times. But remember the can you keep a secret? And you had that television segment with the voiceover that sounded an awful lot like Eric Young. Now at the time, it was believed that Eric Young was actually going to be part of the Wyatt Sicks, but he chose not to. Now, looking back at what we know now, I truly believe that Eric Young was originally going to be part of the Wyatt Sicks, portraying Ramblin' Rabbit. That's my guess, because it certainly seemed, just the way they were getting presented or not presented on TV, that Joe Gacy, Nikki Cross and Dexter Lumis were scheduled in to join the Wyatt Sicks all along. You'd have had Eric Young portray Ramblin' Rabbit, I assume, because Eric Rowan wasn't with the company at the time. And then, of course, The Fiend and then Bo Dallas. What they had planned for Alexa Bliss first time around, we'll never know. But obviously, she was a big part of the story because she was getting targeted via Uncle Howdy. And we also cannot forget, throughout the LA Knight feud, there were numerous attacks on LA Knight. Now, we assume that it was Bray Wyatt in an Uncle Howdy mask attacking LA Knight. And yes, I believe he was involved in at least one of the attacks, but maybe other members were involved at the time that we didn't know at the time were going to later be members of the Wyatt Sicks. Remember when we saw this image flash up ages ago? If you followed the journey all along, you'll remember this. And that looks a lot like Dexter Lumis. So was Lumis always part of this all along? Were other members attacking for Bray Wyatt? Was Bray Wyatt originally trying to recruit LA Knight, but he resisted, so in the end he became an enemy? We cannot forget for one single second that Bray Wyatt did actually claim to be Uncle Howdy, saying, "I am the Eater of Worlds, I am Uncle Howdy, I am him." And I think as the storyline with Bray Wyatt unfolded, we got to see the darker version of Bray come to life. And when he attacked that cameraman, I know many of you thought I was crazy at the time. Go back and watch that cameraman attack, and he definitely says, "Let me in." And I think that was a clue and hint as to what was to come with the Fiend version 2. And of course that leads us all up to the present day, and it makes sense for Bo Dallas to portray Uncle Howdy, because after all, he was portraying Uncle Howdy to protect Bray anyway. So when the Wyatt Sicks come out to shatter, the lyrics are bang on. "I am the coil, I am the spring, I am the ghost in the machine" represents Uncle Howdy. I believe at the time, obviously, that was word for word a Bray Wyatt connection. But it can now link into Bo Dallas because he is fully embracing Uncle Howdy now, taking on the spirit of Uncle Howdy, if you like, and Bray Wyatt. So it does make sense. And then "Lie for me, brother, know not what you said, use me for cover." Bo Dallas in the previous Bray Wyatt storyline was portraying Uncle Howdy to protect Bray. So it fully makes sense for Bo Dallas to embrace Uncle Howdy this time around, which I love. In the absence of Bray, it can still make sense. And that's why I think I'm so invested in this Wyatt Sicks storyline, because it makes a whole lot of sense. And where do we even start with the Uncle Howdy mask? Or masks, should I say. We've seen so many different versions. Of course, we saw the OG Howdy, Extreme Rules, the one that they sold on WWE Shop. Of course, we saw Uncle Howdy with green, yellowish sort of eyes. Red eye, Uncle Howdy. Blue eyes, Uncle Howdy. We saw this version of Uncle Howdy with the dreads. We, of course, saw the slightly chunkier version of Uncle Howdy. I swear that was Jason Baker portraying him for that one-off show. And then, of course, we saw the original Bo Dallas Uncle Howdy, if you like. And now, of course, the Uncle Howdy to the present day. And presentation-wise, I think they've absolutely killed it with this version of Uncle Howdy. But of course, this week on Monday Night Raw, we saw an even newer version of Uncle Howdy, a new mask, slightly smoother mask, the eyebrows slightly standing out a little bit more in straight hair rather than the dreadlocks. Now, my personal opinion is WWE are just experimenting with different masks, maybe due to lighting or the fact that Uncle Howdy has got an in-ring match coming up against Chad Gable very, very soon. So I think they're just playing around, experimenting with the masks. I think they've got various versions of Uncle Howdy's mask, which makes a lot of sense. Like, Uncle Howdy is all of them, right? He can literally be anything. I wouldn't get too picky about any changes that we might see to the Uncle Howdy mask. And I think both look great. I prefer the original one that he returned in, but I can understand if he's wrestling why they might change that mask for in-ring performances. It doesn't really bother me either way. Of course, we've seen Nikki Cross with some straps now on her mask because her mask fell off in a segment few weeks back. So I don't mind the fact they're playing around with these masks. There's different versions. I just don't want to see too many different versions like we've seen from previous, otherwise it gets a little bit confusing. And I just wanted to close this video off by saying rest in peace, brother. We miss you every single day. This channel doesn't feel the same without you, but we do our best to bring the best content we can and share the journey of the Wyatt Sicks. And you know full well that Bo Dallas is doing his brother proud. Thank you so much for watching the video. It'd be very much appreciated, as always, if you could like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new. We'll catch you in the next one.